Good evening and welcome to Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence. I'm Tony Rathman.
And I am Cherie.
I am Chris Allgood.
I am Audra Keeler.
Oh, we lost your mic, Ron.
It's muted.
Yeah, so that was my first foray into the world of being a mime. So, now that I got that off the bucket list, I'm Ron Yakoveti. This is Lourdes Gonzalez.
And this is Lourdes Gonzalez.
And welcome, everyone. We have an amazing guest for you tonight. Tonight, we have Rick McCallum joining us, who is the founder of Hollywood Ghost Hunters, was a stuntman in the film industry for 38 years, and is now a published author of a book he just released called Ghosts Believe in Me, which is an awesome title. Rick, what made you decide to use that?
Oh, it's really funny. I was on a radio show and somebody was getting a little snarky with me, shall we say. And they said, "Do you really believe in ghosts?" And I said, "No." And they went, "Really?" I said, "But ghosts believe in me."
Fantastic.
And so that's where that came about. My being kind of a smart aleck kind of brought it up. But it seemed to fit, it just seemed good.
It's a great title, an awesome title. And that just, it catches your attention because, the number one question asked in the paranormal is, do you believe in ghosts? But for you to have turned that around where it's like, no, but ghosts believe in me, that's fantastic. Love the title.
You have to turn it around, too, because most of the time the people who are asking the question or have no empirical experience, they've never really done it, they're kind of curious, or so like you've done a lot of stuff, they usually have not. So when they ask you that, I always go, well, define ghost.
Well, yeah, you can tell when they're have bad intentions when they're asking you questions.
Yeah.
And that's what this person did. So I just had to give them a little backhand there and set them straight. By the way, I have to make an observation, gentlemen. All three of you overachieved it with who you have sitting next to you. I just
Thank you, Rick. It's a great group to do the show with, just because we all have our specialties in the paranormal, and we pretty much cover from A to Z with different experience and different backgrounds, and it's a great group to do the show from. So, but thank you for that observation. I'm sure all the ladies appreciate that compliment. But it's a great group, no doubt about it.
Us guys appreciate that compliment too, because that means that we're kind of studly a little bit.
Well, you can read into that, Chris, but
well, you guys had to have something to offer.
That's right.
You have the overachieved. You would have fell flat on your face like I have on many occasions. And that wasn't when I was doing stunts. That was like, "Hey, how you do?" Okay, I'll go. I'll just leave now.
That is hilarious. All right, I'm going to play a quick clip and I got to put my glasses on so I can make sure I play the correct one. But I'm going to play a quick clip for our audience. And this particular clip was put together by both a friend of Rick's and mine named Kat Hobson. And she kind of took a little bit of background history from Rick, what he's done, places he's been in the paranormal, investigated, stunts he's done for different movies, as well as his new book that we're going to talk about tonight. So let me bring up that clip and play it for our audience. And give me just a second. I got to make sure this is going to go through and I can pull the screen up. Yep, I got the right one. So let me share my screen for our audience. And here comes that clip. Maybe. All right. There we go. Here it comes.
Pretty cool.
So many things. Hold on, I'm trying to get our screen back up here. And there we go. So many things in there we're going to want to talk about tonight, but just that's an amazing clip. Kat did a really good job putting that together and you know, highlighting so many of the achievements that you've done, Rick. But I think the first question that comes to my mind is what got you interested and what led you down the path into the paranormal?
I was kind of dragged into it, to be honest with you. When I was 13, I lived in Chicago with my mom, and my grandfather had accidentally killed himself in the cleaning the gun accident, and he wanted to be buried in Paducah, Kentucky. Well, my mom didn't have a lot of money, so she and I went by train along with him, back in the casket. And when we got where we were going, we didn't have any hotel or anything because it all happened so fast. And when we got there, we wanted to find a place that was cheap and close to the cemetery. So we walked from the cemetery over to this place. It wasn't very far. It was kind of downtown in Paducah, if there really is a downtown in Paducah.
That's what I was going to say.
And this was, 50 years ago, so it was smaller then. But we found this 2-story hotel, and we went. And my mother goes up and she says, "Do you have any rooms?" And the guy says, "Well, we only have one left." He says, "And I have to tell you, it's haunted." Now, I'm 13. I'm like, woohoo! I'm like, I just got the golden ticket to Disneyland. Yes, I'm staying in a haunted room. Yes. So we go upstairs, and it was very strange room. It looked like a volleyball court. It was all wood, and it was, rectangular but longer than it was wide. And there were 2 windows, not very wide, but they had neon coming in. So the whole atmosphere was just weird. But the 2 beds we were on both far ends, which were probably close to 20 feet apart. I mean, it was a really big room, but it was just stupidly laid out. And the beds were on rollers, so you could put them anywhere you wanted. Anyway, we'd had a long day traveling, so we both jumped into bed, and, I fall asleep. And not too long later, I hear my mother scream, right? So I pop up in the bed, and I look over, and I see her bed is like flying towards me. I just, really steaming across the thing. And then I realize I'm flying towards her. And the 2 beds went whap right in the middle. And we just sat there looking at each other. And then my mom goes, "Well, I guess that guy downstairs is right."
Oh.
Now, this was before any of the ghost hunting shows. I mean, this is back, if you did anything like that, you had to write on a chalkboard, to put the figures. But my mother was very intelligent, so we tried to figure out what happened. The first thing we thought of was the floor is warped, a truck went by, woof, they rolled. So I went over and I took the bed over there, and I got behind it, and I shoved it as hard as I could, and it went about 3 to 4 feet. And these things cleared like about 15 feet altogether.
Wow.
That wasn't it. So my mother grabs a glass, and she sets it on its side and pushes it, and it didn't go anywhere. So the floors weren't warped. So after that, I was kind of hooked.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
She's an investigator at heart.
Well, there's a couple interesting things in the book about my mom, and things that happened to her and I. And I mean, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and for the people who are skeptical out there, it's those beds you put the quarters in. Don't do that either.
Yeah.
They don't move that one.
Don't take me wrong, yeah, Ron, but I don't really want to put the quarters in a bed that my mother's near.
Good point.
Thinking I wasn't going to say it.
Yeah.
And I was 13. I mean, I didn't have any quarters, for goodness sake.
Wow. So, I mean, that's a unbelievable story, Rick. And yeah, that would definitely leave an impression on anybody, let alone a 13-year-old having that happen. And, you know, I give kudos to your mother for being able to stay calm and actually try to explain what had happened and figure out maybe if it was something logical or paranormal. But to even just stay calm with that having just occurred, that's pretty amazing in itself.
If you now, knowing what you know, having investigated for a while, had to go back in time and help you, then what would your best guess be at what took place?
Oh, it was something paranormal for sure, because we eliminated everything else.
Yeah.
You know, when you've got nothing left to just, you know, to figure it out with, it's got to be something other than normal.
Wow. So after that, are you guys able to sleep?
After that, well, you know, we just, you know, we were really tired, so out we went. I was kind of hoping I'd get another ride, though, but it didn't happen. So. I think it was only one per customer, you know. So,
and a lot of the stories that we're going to talk about tonight are actually in the book you've just published and released, correct?
Yeah.
Let me just, for our viewers, let me pull up what that book title looks like, and let's see. Whoop. I just took out my screen here. Hold on one second. Let me share this so our audience can see it. And this is the title of the book. And I don't think that's coming up. There we go.
There it is. Ghosts Believe in Me.
Yeah, this is Ghosts Believe in Me by Rick McCallum, and it's just was recently released. It's available on Amazon. Sheree and I actually ordered it on there. Came in just a couple of days. We haven't read it yet, but we're going to get to it and can't wait to see what's in there. But the story about the beds rolling is actually in this book, correct?
Yes. Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's pretty much why I just say how it all started. That's
awesome.
So, Rick, those watching like me that like the audiobooks, is it available in audiobook too on Amazon?
No, I didn't put it in audio because there are probably 80 to 100 pictures in the book that are really iconic locations, and they really go with the stories. And I can't think of anybody in the world that wants to hear my voice for a couple hours, you know. Even I offend me sometimes. So
too funny, Rick. Too funny. Well, before we get into the locations that Rick's investigated, Rick supplied us with a bunch of great clips that we'll play throughout tonight's show based on when we get to him with him telling us what's going on. But Rick was the founder of Hollywood Ghost Hunters, which included himself and two other people, Kane Hodder and R.A. I don't want to butcher this name. Rick, help me.
Say it, Rick.
His name is Mihailov.
Mihailov, thank you. Okay. I knew I would have butchered that one, so I tried to save myself the embarrassment. But I have a real quick clip of Rick actually speaking to Zach Bagans about how he got into ghost hunting, and he mentions it wasn't until he met Kane that this occurred. So let me play that for the audience because it's just a great clip. All right, let me see which one it is.
Do you want your reading glasses?
Yeah, I'm going to do that because it'll keep me from playing something wrong.
Well, I can play both parts.
Tony is old.
All right, here comes that clip. Give me 1 second. I just got to turn the screen over and share it with our audience and the audio. So let's see. There we go. We'll share the audio, and here it comes.
Kane and I were filming a movie called Fallen Angels, and we were all the way back in the cell block at the very end. And he and I were walking back, and he said, "Hey, why don't we ghost hunt a little bit?" And I didn't know that he was into it.
This is while you were filming a movie?
Yeah, we'd already filmed. We were done for the day, and we'd been just looking around. And he said, "Let's ghost hunt."
I like these guys already.
I never started a group until I found Kane. And what happened is everybody else was the kind that would tiptoe, and if there was a noise, they went backwards. Didn't want that. Wanted somebody that would go forwards.
Wow, that was that's so cool because the whole attitude when the three of you were doing ghost hunting was that you never run, and to have that attitude and to have those people by your side to do those investigations. Kane was obviously a big part of that, but that's amazing, Rick. Just amazing.
Well, that is the motto of our group. If you run, you're done. It's that simple. But people ask me, because maybe somebody out there doesn't know that Kane played Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th. R.A. Mihailoff played Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 3. Or if you ask R.A., which one were you in? And he would go, the best one. R.A. is like the size of an elephant on steroids. He's huge. He's like 6'5" and 345 pounds. He's gigantic. But somebody asked me one time, they said, "What is it like ghost hunting with those two?" And I said, "Well, you get a good feeling. You got some backup there. I said, but on other occasions, I'll be walking down a real dark hallway, and Kane and R.A. are behind me, and it'll suddenly dawn on me that Jason and Leatherface are right behind me." And this is probably not going to end well for me.
Too funny, but truth. There's some real truth there. I would think the reality of that may be a little more scarier than whatever the haunted location was. But you've been all over the place, Rick, and I know you've done so many investigations both here in the U.S. and overseas. What would you say was your most popular, or what's your most favorite place that you've investigated?
There's a bunch of them, but one I really, really like, because I've been there several times with Scottish Paranormal, is Balgony Castle. And Balgony Castle just has a nice feel about it, although I did get slapped in the back of the head. I think they're trying to tell me something. Matter of fact, there's a little audio clip in there that I sent you of the Frank's box from Balgony.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Let me play that real quick before you go any further, because that is an amazing clip, and our audience would love to hear that. So let me share my screen again and share the audio. Oh, select the right screen. I'm getting used to this. It's only the second time I used it. Okay, so here's the clip that Rick is talking about, and this is a great clip.
Is there anything in the castle that we should be afraid of?
The energy.
Wow.
So clear.
That was so clear. You can't misunderstand that.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Anytime from ITC standpoint, when you get vocal tone on a device with ITC, even if it has phonetics or fragments of sound or sweeping rate, whatever it is, you don't always get tone. A lot of times you'll still get EVP because of the audio support. That has full tone, right? And it's very clear in the enunciation of what it's saying.
Yeah, it's funny. I've had quite a few of them. I sent you two of them, Tony, and it's the same one, and then it's cleaned up the second time. And there's an interesting story about that. I was on the bridge in front of between Roslyn Chapel and Roslyn Castle at about 2 a.m. with a bunch of other ghost hunters. And one guy asked me, he says, "Have you ever, got a really good EVP?" And I said, "Well, it's under Houdini is the name of the one." And we were in this one house up in the Hollywood Hills. And there was a word came out at the very end. It's only like a 6-second clip.
I found it.
Okay, play that and you'll see.
Okay, let me share this again. This one's audio, so I need to make sure I share the audio. And we're going to take it off of here, share. So here's the clip that Rick is referring to, and here it comes.
I saw pretty good movement right here as I walked in the door.
Take base reading.
Rick and Ed in the second bedroom. This is the bedroom where they have said that.
You can end it there because that's where I got it in the first place.
That's phenomenal.
Okay.
But the no was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But there's more to the story. The guy that's standing on the thing. Now I played that 100 times for people, and the guy that was there, Gary Hughill, I played it for him, and he goes, "Wow!" And I said, "Well, yeah, the no's pretty emphatic." And he goes, "No, what it says before it." And I went, "Oh." Right. So he says there's 4 words before it. So I started listening as close as I could, and you can hear the cadence of the 4 words. Well, when I got back, I put the headphones on, cranked it up, and I could hear the words. So I had one of the guys at Scottish Paranormal, that would be the second clip, where it says cleaned, and really crank up the volume so you can hear what the 4 words are. So
Okay, let me slide over to that, and we'll play that one next. So that's the one labeled cleaned.
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, so let me share this again. Let our audience hear this. And here, and share. Okay, and here comes that next one.
Take base reading.
Wow. I replayed it. Sorry about that. Yeah, you can hear that clear as a bell when it cleaned up like that.
Yeah, it says "Get back here, punk."
It sure does. Let me play that one more time for the audience. So now
for us.
Sorry, what was that, Ron?
And for us too. We would like to hear that again.
You bet. All right, 1 second. I'll bring that back up. And here it is again, so the audience can hear it again. I'm going to play it one more time.
Take base reading.
No doubt. It's clearly saying, "Get back here, punk."
Told you.
And you know,
He
that's
wasn't talking to me. He was actually talking to one of my guys. I was sitting on the futon.
that's
It almost, it almost
hearing.
feels like it says now.
Yeah. It's really good hearing because when I first heard when we I thought it was just shuffling, So whoever heard that, that's really good hearing on their part.
Yeah. Well, the very first part you hear with the shuffling isn't on the thing that I played him. I'd cut all that out. I just started playing it from where it says I'm going to get a bass reading, because as we were walking downstairs and stuff, I had other equipment that rubbed together and it made the shuffling sound. And then I put the K2 meter and the voice recorder on one of the double beds. And then I sat down on this futon, and Ed picks up the K2 meter and he walks away and he says, I'm going to get a bass reading. And he walks into the bathroom, and as soon as he does, you hear, "No." And I had never heard that before, the 4 words before it. So the secret here is put on the headphones and crank up the volume. Get back here. It's pretty sincere.
That kind of stuff is what makes this show so much fun to be a part of. That kind of stuff, because that's, first of all, that's amazing audio evidence. Second of all, for the you don't believe in ghosts, do you, crowd? One of the things that is immediate validity upon review is that nobody, you hear how clear those words are. Nobody reacted to it on the recording in the moment.
Right.
We didn't hear it. I just heard it when I was going back through the evidence. There was no talking. But I will tell you, at this place was one of the most active and really hostile, not physically or anything, but hostile to us being there. Because when we got into the bathroom, we started saying these names, saying, is this person here? Is this person here? Now, this isn't the actual house of Houdini, and there's many up there in the hills that people say he's been at, okay? So we were talking, and we were saying the names of the owner of Houdini's wife, Houdini, all these different people. Nothing. So we remember, Ed, who was with me, Ed remembered that the lady had told us that the place was built on a quartz mine. Now, that brings out a lot of stuff. Well, we went back through the names, and then Ed goes, are you a miner? And it went all 5 lights on the K2 meter. So we went back through it again, and we said all the names again, and nothing came up until we said, are you a miner? And then it went all 5 lights again. Wow. So I said, are you glad we're here? Nothing. So I said, do you want us to leave? 5 lights. So I went, okay, do it again and we'll leave. Instantly 5 lights. So Ed goes, what are we going to do? I said, we're going to leave. I told him we'd leave. So we walked back out to the bedroom where I was at, and we started talking a little bit, and the lights start going all 5. I said, are you trying to tell us to leave? And it goes all 5 again. I said, let's go. So we go upstairs, and there was a reporter there doing another story. And he goes, oh, I'd love to go. I said, Ed, take him back down. So Ed comes back up, and he said, what happened? He goes, he threw us out too. Right. So what was there wasn't very friendly. That was the case there.
Wow.
So hey, Rick, so we've got a couple people asking, what device did you record that on? Was that just a digital recorder, or what?
Yeah, that was a Sony digital recorder.
Okay, perfect.
But the one before that, I think that's what Adam Nodler was asking about. The first.
The energy.
Yeah, the energy.
The one that responded.
What box was that?
I don't know, because that wasn't my equipment. I was there with Scottish Paranormal, and they had all the equipment. It was a Frank's box though that said the energy.
Yeah, judging by the image that was in the video clip, that certainly was a Frank's box. Looked like attached to some sort of portal device. Yep. That said the energy, but that was an amazing response of vocal.
And that was me asking if there's anything in the castle. So
right.
That's
right.
All
right, but Chris, thanks for catching the question.
Balgoni Castle, though, is my favorite. To answer the question of the person that had asked.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to move on to some photographs that you sent, Rick, which are FLIR photographs. And I know there's a story behind this. So before I showed them these particular photographs, do you want to give some background on where you were, what you were doing, and how you ended up taking these photographs?
Yeah, there was a lady named Donna who had called me and said her apartment was haunted and she was kind of scared. So I grabbed one of my members, not one of the famous ones, and off we went. And we got there, and you guys have been ghost hunting long enough. I can walk into a room and generally tell you if something's there or not, right? Yeah. And I got it, and I was like, okay. So we went all around there. She had a loft. We went up into the loft and everything else. None of the equipment went off. I didn't feel anything, So I go back down and I said, Donna, I have to tell you, I don't think your apartment is haunted. Now, she said the words that no ghost hunter wants to hear. She goes, oh, I don't either. Why am I here? Right? Then she goes like this. She goes, I think something's attached to me. Now, I knew she just wanted to feel better. I know some of the signs of having an attachment because I've had it happen to me twice, but both times were not very fun. Especially the last one. If you get the book and you read about Lep Castle, you'll have never have heard a story like this ever. And I hope you don't hear another one. But anyway, so I figured out she just wants to feel better. So what can I do to, make her feel better? So I took the K2 and I ran it around her. I said, look, Donna, it's not going off. And I said, wait a minute, let me grab my night vision camera. So I did the night vision and I showed her. I said, look, there's nothing here. And then I recalled that I just gotten the FLIR for your telephone.
Oh, wow.
So I got up and I said, okay, let me take a picture of you with this. And I went, okay, this ought to do it. And I clicked it and I went, uh-oh. Right. Now, if you want to put up number one, it'll give you things. And if you guys look really closely, not only is there a spot, a very cold spot right here in the middle of her body, it appears that there's someone standing behind her.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Let's
I didn't see that.
I saw that when we reviewed it, and I was like, wow, that's, right back there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kind of peering over her shoulder. Yeah, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that when I reviewed the evidence. That's awesome.
I didn't see that originally either. I was focusing on the mark he was talking about, but now I clearly see it.
So you can see the head and the shoulders.
You know how the computers work, right? Yeah, I mean, that spot is extraordinarily cold.
Yeah.
Right.
So
it's black.
Yeah. So I have to explain Donna. Donna was a little bit older African-American girl who should have had her own sitcom. She was bubbly. She was just fantastic. Right. So I asked her after I saw this picture, I told her, I said, look, the first thing, there's something right here. I said, did you have any ice cream or something eating earlier? Do you have a phone underneath your tunic, a belt buckle? She goes, no, there's nothing under there. I said, okay. So I said, the first thing I'm going to tell you is tomorrow you should call your doctor because you may have a blockage of some sort.
I was just going to say that.
And I said, okay, now I want to see if this is a camera anomaly. So if you show number 2, this should give you a good idea. I had actually had her go up and walk down the stairs. So she's at the top of the stairs walking down, and it's obviously still there. It's not a camera.
It's in the exact same spot, too, as photograph 1, so it did not move at all.
Right. So she comes down, and she asked me, she goes, well, what do I do about this? I said, well, you know, this is all up to conjecture. I mean, I know there's several people have different things. I said, but the things that worked for me when I felt like I was attached was to get very hostile with it and tell it to get lost. And she goes, well, how mad should I get? I said, pretend you walked in and found your sister fooling around with your boyfriend. Right? And she says to me, and she was the sweetest lady. She goes, can I use my faith? I said, it certainly couldn't hurt. Well, the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life is not film her because it was the most awesome performance I've ever seen. She took her little fists and she balled them up and she threw them over her head and she goes, the power of God commands you, get out, get out. And she was so sincere, I almost left, right? But after like a minute or two of this, I mean, she's just pounded away. She stops, right? And she's spent. You can see she needs a minute or two to relax. So I let her relax, and then I hit number 3, the one you have up there.
Let me bring that up. And here is 3.
Oh.
Wow.
That's crazy.
It's gone.
Yep.
Yeah, the only thing you see there is actually a shadow like the ones up here from the tunic.
Right.
That's just a shadow. The spot is gone.
Yeah.
Plus it's
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
was
amazing.
That is
and there's nobody behind her either.
Nope.
No,
Oh, you're right. There isn't on that photo.
It's just, her heat. That's the heat
Right,
heat around her body. That's it. Yeah. That's crazy.
Let me.
Well, you can tell the other one. The other one was cold. The other shape and the first one was cold behind her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, let me bring one of the first ones back up.
Yeah, I want to point that out to the people that are watching. So if you look at the figure standing behind her, up by her, I would assume that's her right shoulder as she's facing you. Everybody that's watching, that's on your left-hand side. You can see the head, you can see the shoulder, and you can see the purple and black figure standing there. That's ice cold on a clear camera.
Yep.
And then when you go to the next picture, Tony.
Okay.
Well, go to 3 because 2 is coming down the stairs.
Yeah, go to 3.
2 is the same, but you'll see there's nobody behind her. But 3 is the other one in the same spot. That's why it's a good one.
Yeah, and you will see that there's like an aura coming off of her. It almost looks like a mist. That is the heat releasing from her body on the FLIR. And you can see that in the same area next to her head, where the figure was in the first in the first picture is completely gone, and you can see that the heat emanating off her body creates a mist that wasn't there in the first picture. It was almost overcrowded by that attachment. Means it was really close to her body.
You are absolutely correct, Chris, and that's a great point. And like you said, in this last picture, you can see that aura of heat radiating off the body, and in the other one, that was being probably absorbed by whatever was putting that ice cold spot into her abdomen and taking that energy away. So excellent observation, though.
It's a great observation. The other thing to think about, too, is if she has this much heat coming off of her and whatever was behind her was able to blot that out so you can see it, had to be extraordinarily cold.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yep,
and
she had good for her.
Yeah. And now, Rick, you can open up a profession of, FLIR medical examination, and you'll be set for life.
Well, I have to take Donna with me because she's an expert at shagging stuff. I'll tell you.
There you go.
She was so intense. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, I couldn't. There's no other way of putting it. I wish I had filmed it.
Get rid of it too.
Yeah, that's awesome for a variety of reasons. First of all, Chris's assessment was totally astute. That was fantastic to explain how it broke down. And I love that because a lot of again, from the outside, I always look at the outside perspective. People don't understand the equipment used. They if it doesn't work 100% of the time, they go, "Oh, that stuff is crap. It doesn't really work." But you've got the ability through this, especially with the progression of the photos, to show the attachment, to show what's possibly, I guess, an insertion or the point of attachment on her, the effect it had on her aura, and then the removal of it. And then you can see with that same piece of equipment, the change that came after what she did per your instruction. I love when you see the validation from the equipment that ties the mystical and the scientifical all
together.
Well, Ron, you might think that was actually, those pictures were taken by somebody that was like, in the movie business, maybe.
No.
Nicely done.
But you're right, though, Ron. That was phenomenal. And not only did she, like Rick said, when he came over to investigate the house, and she literally said, "Well, I don't think it's in the house. I think it's to me." So she was already sensing that. She already knew it. Rick said, "No, it's not the house," and then focused on her, came up with the anomaly on the FLIR, showed it even after she had moved, walked up and down the stairs, caught it again. It was still there. It didn't move. It didn't change direction, shape, color, nothing. Then he told her to tell it to go away. She put 110% into making that happen. And then the photograph backs up the fact that she asked it to go with everything that was inside of her, and now it's gone.
Think about how profound that is. You've got the senses of the human, right? Her human senses that she picked up on what it was, assessed it correctly. The technical, and then the analysis of it that Rick did, and then the practical application of a technology used, and then the use of a faith and the prayer and the human energy put out there to work against something negative, and then the validation with the equipment to show that something happened full circle. That's profound from start to finish to see what's in those photos.
It's all shown there.
I appreciate that.
Do you know, did she ever get the attachment again? Was it gone for good, or?
No, I do talk to her once in a while, and she is absolutely fine.
Perfect.
Wow.
Excellent question. Yeah.
So
that was a great question, Audra. I mean, that's
Anthony Simonelli actually had asked that too. So
Anthony, great question.
Here's the phenomenal thing that I liked about that Rick was coming from a law enforcement background, and I'm also sensitive on top of it. Not only did you get you got the emotional, you got the sensing that she sensed that it wasn't the house, it was her. But you followed up with multiple pieces of equipment to prove the evidence, and you captured it. And then you captured the evidence after she had done the faith part of it to remove the attachment. So you've got a balance for those of you watching, probably not watching, that are skeptics. You the emotional evidence, you've got the physical sensation of feeling the attachment there and knowing that it wasn't in the house, that she could physically attach it. But then you followed up with the technological aspect of it with 3 different devices to prove, and you came up with the evidence showing that, hey, there it is. And then she used her faith, which is not scientific, right?
Right.
I'm a big faith guy. So she used the faith to get rid of that. And then you followed up with the technological part of it, which is scientific, to show, hey, the faith worked. That, to me, as an investigator, is so phenomenal that you have all those combinations of different things to say, hey, shut up, those of you that are skeptical. Look what I got. I didn't just say it's faith. It just wasn't just based on feeling, but it was based on physical, hard evidence used with technology to prove that something was there and now it's gone. Right. And that is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And as an investigator, that's
Yeah, well, I completely agree. And plus, then the photographs showed that it wasn't there anymore. And like Rick said, she's saying it's fine now. I'm not having any future problems with it. So, again, another step of evidence saying that, it's not in the photograph anymore, and she's not worried about it anymore. It's not bothering her.
That was
pretty much every tool in our tool belt as investigators was put into practice in that scenario, applied successfully, and then validated through the progression, which is documented in the photos. What Chris said, again, 100% spot on, agree. It's so profound to have that.
All of that. She
sensed it, you caught it, you assessed it, you did something about it, and the spiritual faith and that energy is measurable. So science and spiritualism can very much be together. Scientism and spiritual is where it breaks off when it's the materialist view. And this is an example which shows that is in fact true, because what she did, per Rick's advice, had some effect because it was gone.
Right.
It's a great evidence.
Well, I do think one of the things that people might gloss over a little bit, but it's very, very important, and there's a reason I did it, was having her go up to the stairs and walk down. Because she's higher, she's walking down the stairs. I mean, if it was something just, stuck in her belt, you would see it move. It would be totally different. So it actually verified that the camera was really picking up what it was, where it was. So, the second picture, I think, is just as important as the other two.
Oh, I completely agree with that. And the fact that you had her move, because somebody could have easily said, well, you could have been getting some reflection or, whatever the case may be. But the fact that you had her move and it stayed constant, it stayed showing up, it stayed consistent while she moved up and down the stairs. You're right. That second photograph was highly indicative of showing that object was inside of her, that cold spot was remaining. And completely agree with that. Completely agree.
Well, and that's one of the phenomenal things about doing this show is we're not only showing you evidence that guys like Rick have caught, we're showing you the proof that it's real. And we're showing you scientific evidence showing that it happened. And I'm trying to get it out, and I can't think of what I'm trying to say here, but it's not just, hey, look at these guys' evidence, but look at the proof that they show and the stages that they've done to show that this evidence is real. That's the phenomenal. This is what I love about this show. Mm-hmm. And you just want to, like Rick said, you want to smack those people in the back of the head because, hey, look, this is the evidence we caught, but this is the stages we got to prove to you that it's real evidence. And that's just, I love that. That is phenomenal.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before too. The people who have an agenda that's negative and not in favor of this stuff, I've said it a million times. Bigfoot could hand them their keys and they would deny the existence. It wouldn't matter to them. And those aren't skeptics too. I cannot stress that enough. A skeptic looks for the truth, and they will retest theory over and over and over again until you get some kind of absolution or it remains an enigma. Those people are believers. They're just believers in a different paradigm and a different ideal that doesn't match what somebody who is open to it is. That's what they are. And they won't, if they have an agenda, they won't accept it. But that's such a profound set of photos and the instance that it occurred in.
Well, thank you. Well, the people that you're talking about, a lot of people like to call them skeptics. I like to call them people who don't want to believe. It's just that simple. It doesn't, a ghost could pick them up, spin them around, body slam them, and they'd say, well, it was a gust of wind. Right. They it's not that they're skeptical. Skeptical is good. They don't want to believe, and that makes it hard to convince.
Yeah,
Right.
True.
agreed.
They're believers. They're just believers in another paradigm, and it doesn't allow for. Sometimes it's if they're science people, sometimes they're vetted in a certain position, their funding, their career, so they don't want to open up to other possibilities, ridicule within their field, whatever. But yeah, that's 100%. Those are agenda-driven people, and their involvement in research really is not measurable in any kind of a way, positive or negative. It really should not be a part of it. You got to be open to what you don't know when you're trying to figure out what it is.
Well, you made a good point, Ron. I was just about to say the same thing. There's a difference between a closed mind and an open mind. And, I'm not saying that our minds are any more open than other people's, but when you've got to, it's like aliens versus, paranormal, spirits. You've got to understand that there's got to be something bigger and better than us. And we're just trying to show the evidence that we've captured it and trying to understand it. But for us to believe that on this small planet, in this great big huge multiple vast place called space, that we're the only ones that exist, there's no other dimensions, there's no other beings out there, it's an arrogance. And that's basically what it is. It's just an arrogance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you a quick story that kind of goes with all this. I was doing Coast to Coast AM from the Queen Mary. RA and I were doing it. And we were back in the green room waiting for our chance to go out. And we were back there with Stanton Friedman. Now, you guys may be familiar with him. He's the guy that pretty much found out everything about Roswell. And he's by far was one of the most well-respected UFO guys in the world. Well, we're back there and I meet him and we're sitting there talking for a minute. And he looks at me and he had these big eyebrows and the glasses. And he looks at me and he goes, "Do you believe in ghosts?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And he goes, "Even though there's not a shred of empirical evidence." And I looked at him and I just smiled and I went, "You believe in UFOs?" And he looked at me and it was so cool. He just looked at me and he went, "Touche."
That's awesome.
That was great.
So after that, we were friends. We'd be at conventions. We'd have dinner together. I mean, he was a great guy. I mean, he sadly passed away this year, but really good guy.
Wow.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
All right, so I have a couple more clips from Rick, and I'm going to let him kind of give a background on these. But I've got two of them labeled Hallway 1 and Hallway 2. And for the life of me, I can't remember what those are. So, Rick, those sound familiar to you?
Yeah, well, yeah.
That helps me out tremendously.
Tony, just because this is gray doesn't mean I've lost my mind. Okay? But then again, little things are easy to misplace. So I couldn't. Both of those are the same hallway at different times. I mean, like months apart. And they're at David Oman's house. Also, the Oman house. And when I do things,
I've been there a million times.
Yeah, I have too. The second floor.
Yep.
Where his office is. That floor is so active. I mean,
light.
Yeah. Well, the light. I have one of the lights, but I didn't send it. I mean, I'm standing there and they're all going off separately.
Yeah.
But in this case, we all went outside, and what I like to do is I like to take a night vision camera and set it on the ground. That way you can't miss half of something, okay? If it's down on the ground, anything's got to be above it, okay? So you get a picture of the ground up instead of, halfway and then the bottom part is you don't know. So I put this on the ground, and if you run it, you'll see what happens.
All right. So this one is titled Hallway 1. And let me just share my screen here, and we'll try to keep everybody on the page, share my audio. All right, here is that particular clip. Okay.
You should tell them to watch the bottom of the frame.
Yeah, it's in the bottom. So, and it actually goes across the bottom. So here comes Hallway 1. Yeah.
Wow.
Now here it is slowed down. Watch at the bottom, right along here it goes by.
Yeah, you can see it forming right now.
Yeah, right here. Here it's moving, and now it almost turns into, you can see almost like it's turning into almost a figure, as it looks like it kind of crawls across the floor.
You know what it looks like to me? It looks to me like a snake going to bite something.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Oh my God.
You know,
That's the door to the Jack Johnson room or to his office.
that is at the I was had it down by the spiral staircase pointing back towards the laundry room, and his office would be on the left hand side, and his bedroom would be on the right hand side. Bedroom door on the right hand side is closed. Okay, so nothing ran out of the thing. It's just the hallway, and there was no one in the house.
Wow.
You know, we all went outside, and I just left the camera running. So
to me, when I watched that video, Rick, it almost looked like the lower half of somebody's leg.
Yeah.
When I looked at it.
Mm-hmm. You could see it forming.
Yeah, that's what I could see. You could see it form as it was moving further to the left side of the screen or through the hallway.
Can you play it again, Tony?
I sure can.
Play it again.
Watch when it gets to the middle on the slow one. It looks like this. It'll like it's up and it opens like it's going to bite something. I mean, it's kind of weird. And it could be anything. It could be the bottom half of a leg. I've had people say it looks like a child's head. I mean, it's all kinds of stuff.
That is a possibility.
But I do know one thing. Whatever it is, it's fast.
It's very fast because it zips across there in full speed.
Yeah.
Until you slow it down to the 1/8, you can't even get a glimpse of it. But now you'll be able to see it. Oh, I shouldn't have.
It's forming. It's right there.
Yeah, right here it comes across. You can see it.
Right about there. It looks like it's got a mouth open and biting.
Yep.
See that?
That's
See that?
That's crazy.
That's incredible.
So you can see down there, the very end is actually the laundry room, and on the left-hand side, the last door is his bedroom. Not his bedroom, his office, where he has like 500 billion pictures of Jake Johnson or Jack Johnson. Boxer.
That's the Jack Johnson memorabilia room. Yeah, I've gotten unbelievable EVPs and AVPs in that room. That house is for me one of the most consistently active places I've ever been.
Oh, I agree with you. We actually were doing a Frank's Box session downstairs. I don't know if you guys know Chris Moon.
Yes.
Very, very famous Frank's Box guy, and kind of a psychic too. We were downstairs, and there were I think 14 of us. And while we were down there, the Frank's Box is going. Everybody's chattering. It's noisy, and we hear above us. There's nobody else in the house, right? We hear boom, 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 boom. Somebody run down the hallway. So one of my guys is standing right at the stairs, and up he goes, right? So he comes back down. He goes, "There's nobody up there." So as soon as he gets to the bottom, and I have this on video somewhere, but I couldn't find it. As soon as he gets down there, we hear what sounds like somebody jumping and stomping with both feet all the way down the hallway. So loud. I mean, you can hear it over everything else. You hear boom, boom, boom. So he takes off. I take off after him. He goes down the second floor. I go up to the top, and I look all the way through there. Nothing. So we come back down, and he told me a very interesting story. Now, the guy that went down there is 6'6" and 325 pounds. He is not a shrinking violet by any point. It's not RA either. This is another guy. Matter of fact, when my group goes into a house, we have to split up so it doesn't tilt. All right, how do you go on that side? But anyway, I said, "Well, did you see anything?" He said, "No, but something interesting happened." I said, "What?" He goes, "I heard the footsteps going away towards the laundry room that we saw in the earlier one." He says, "I went up there and they stopped. And when I was standing there looking into the laundry room, they ran up from behind me." Now, that is creepy.
Yes.
Yeah, that house is nuts. The first time I ever went there, there were like 5 of us. He was giving us directions. It was the first time I was there to get to the exposed earth room downstairs. And we watched his movie poster that's on a little piece of wall between the bar and the archway to go into the fish tank room. We watched the movie poster with a frame and a glass front come off the wall in slow motion by itself, one hook at a time, and then just go flat forward towards the bar, and David caught it.
Wow.
That's, yeah, there's a that is out here by far the most haunted place I've been in. That same night we were standing there, and we were in the basement, and I heard somebody on the stairs outside, and so did my one of my guys, Robert. We both turned around and looked at each other. So we went out the door. A lot of people don't know the bottom floor, you can go out. There's a set of stairs that come up, and there's another one that goes down and around the building. So Robert goes down, and I'm standing on the landing right outside the door, and the door is closed. And they have the stairs are actually concrete, but they're slabs, so you can see under them, right? And it was fall, so there's leaves on all the stairs. And I'm waiting for Robert to come back, and I hear behind me coming from the top, crunch, crunch, crunch. I mean, very loud, coming down the stairs, stepping on the leaves. So I turn around, and I look, and I hear every step, crunch, 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 until it gets right in front of me. And it stops. And I just looked, and I went, hi. And I heard this laughing, and it was Robert coming up from behind, and I think he had heard the walking too. But that place has quite a bit of stuff happen there.
Yeah.
You can look at, how about the second one?
Yep, I'm gonna play that now. So let me bring that up.
Same hallway.
Yeah, it's the same hallway.
And this is several months later, maybe a year later.
And here is that clip.
And this is on the left side of the wall.
See that.
Yeah, when he slows it down, it's easier to catch it. It literally comes right out from about here, and out it comes right there.
There it is.
That's a good catch.
That is awesome. Let me play that one more time.
And if you notice, it to me, it looks like almost a baton or maybe a tomahawk.
Yeah.
Because it looks like it is thrown and spins in midair.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can. I didn't even notice that till you said it, but yeah, it is spinning.
And there is a lot of Indian stuff that happened in that valley where his thing is. So.
Oh yeah, in Southern California. Yeah.
That's exactly what it looked like. You can see that rotation. Wow, that's incredible.
So I've got a question for Rick and Ron. You guys have both been to this location a few times, and I've done some research on it. We actually had an opportunity to go there, and we unfortunately couldn't make it. But this location is also pretty close to the San Andreas Fault. Everybody knows that. Southern California sits on it, right? And the electromagnetic energy has been recorded from the top to the bottom. It almost replicates a negative magnet and a positive magnet pushing against each other at the center of the house. And for some reason they relate. I mean, the Sharon Tate murders were, a couple houses away. Do you guys feel as investigators being there that the Sharon Tate murders have anything to do with that house, or do you think it has more to do with the electromagnetic energy coming from the fault and the way that house is positioned? And it almost creates some kind of a portal in that house, that it's not just certain spirits that are in that house. Do you think it's multiple spirits that have a chance to come and go because of the energy in that house?
It's a B12 shot for spirits, I think. It's like negative 3,000 milligauss at the front door and positive at the bottom of the spiral staircase. It's almost fear cage levels when you go to the third lowest level. Disorientation, like dizziness down there. The original mansion was torn down in 94, and then they broke it up into like 4 lots. So David and his father built on one of those lots. I know the neighboring house had a bunch of college kids renting it the last time I was there, and they had activity in their house also. The energy from the murders probably factors into it. It could be something residual or something, trapped or hanging around. But a lot of the recipe necessary or that facilitates activity, I think is definitely present in that location.
Yeah, I think it's probably a combination of both, because I've gotten things on the Frank's box. When we were doing the Frank's box with Chris Moon, twice a girl's voice went Kane, and then went Kane, right? And then we heard somebody say, "Help us," and then somebody said, "Well, Sharon, is that you?" And I can't remember what it said. I think it said Abigail, which would be Abigail Folger, but I'm not positive. But it said a name that we knew because it's been a while. But that was interesting. But I will tell you something. It goes with what you said, Ron. The very first time I was there, we walked in, and as you walk in the door to the right, there's a little hallway, and it goes to a bathroom. And he goes, "You can go this way." And I stopped, and I said, "I have to go this way." And he goes, "Why?" And I said, "Come on with me." And we walked to where we were just in front of the bathroom, and I said, "There's a portal right here." Right? Oh, wow. And he goes, "No," he says, "Von Prague says it's in the bathroom." I said, "Well, Von Prague was very close, wasn't he?"
That's excellent.
But my friend Robert took 3 pictures up there. And I took a picture over here, which is where the aquarium and all that stuff is. He took a picture where the hallway is from the same spot. He just went click, click. And then he went this way, which is where the kitchen is, right? Perfectly clear by the aquarium, perfectly clear over here by the kitchen. The one where I said there's a portal is totally oranged out.
Wow.
And he took them one right after the other. So
that's amazing.
That is
amazing.
She has a. We went there a couple times. The one time we were there, he has it on his YouTube. We were asking the cat toy to light up, and it did it on command. And we thanked the spirits, and the little keyboard across the room played a little jingle by itself.
Wow.
The last time we were there, and I never asked Manson take questions. I always figured I'll get what the house gives me. The last time we were there was when Manson was on his deathbed.
So he asked,
but he wasn't gone yet. So you got to tell it. So we asked. Want me to ask to get the question?
Because you asked.
I asked, what happens to him when he dies? Is he forgiven? Does he get to repent? What happens to Manson when he dies? And then what did the ghost box said?
It said, "We want him," just like that. Very amount of want.
That's it. No further questions. You can step down.
I was like, you know what? Whoever wants him, I don't want to know who you are. You can have him. Yeah.
Wow.
I got to tell you though, that is not the most active place I've ever been though. I mean, I had well, first off, I had a horrifying experience at LEP, but wasn't because of the things there. It was something that attached to me earlier. But there's a place called Bolton Abbey in Yorkshire, England, where I had something that happened to me that was so outlandish. I was there, and I still have a hard time believing it. Now, when I tell the story, you have to understand the people that I was with, I trust implicitly. Okay, they are all veteran ghost hunters. They all have great reputations. So, we were there, and 2 other guys came. They were bouncers from Liverpool. So those 2 and I were walking around out on the grounds, and the other people went into the actual abbey, which had no roof. Okay, and it was just grass. Well maintained and everything else, but then there was a higher area that was an altar. And they had told us, the guides, before they let us go, that there had been many witchcraft and satanic rituals done in there. So they had a fence, you weren't supposed to go in there. And I walked by and I see all of them in there. And I started hollering and say, "Hey guys, don't be in there," right? Because I got a real bad feeling about the place, And I've always had a feeling if there's satanic worship, if you go over and knock on the devil's door, he will answer. And I don't want to deal with that, just to be honest with you. But guy here, girl here, guy, and I think that was it. All of a sudden, me and the 2 bouncers go around the corner, and we hear screaming. So we come ripping back, and we look, and 3 of the people are down on their knees. One of them standing up, and the last one, my friend, is flat on his back, totally knocked out. And we're like, what the hell just happened? So I tell Peter, because I had busted up my knee and was having a hard time walking. Peter jumps over the fence. I said, "Bring him back here." So Peter just picks him up like a sack of wheat, runs over and throws him over the fence to me and Justin, the bouncer, 300-pound guy, we catch him, and we take him, we set him down, and he's out. He's leaning up against Justin. Now, I do water safety things also for movies. I was a lifeguard, a certified diver, and I'm also certified in life saving and all that stuff. And I'm watching him while he's sitting there, and I see the micro shivers start. Now, that is a real good sign that someone's going into shock, right? So I grabbed him and I put him on his back, and the girl ran over, Mandy, who was the head of Anubis. She came over and put her equipment boxes down. We put his feet up. And I took my coat off because it was cold out, and I put it on top of him, trying to warm him up in case it was just cold, right? And, doing this to him, and I start rubbing his extremities and everything else, and he's totally out. All the people are there, so I start talking to him, and I said, what happened, right? And I asked them individually, not when they were all together, and I asked the first girl, I said, what happened? She goes, well, the guy was telling us all to get on our knees, and this girl had been a soldier. She goes, and I told him, I'm going to rugby tackle you off of this altar. I'm not kneeling, right? Well, a couple other people behind her had. And I said, what was the screaming? She goes, after I said I wouldn't kneel, I saw something come through his face that looked like a goat's head with no eyes.
Wow.
And I was like,
wow.
I was like, what? So I asked the next person, and they said the same thing. The third guy said, well, I had my head down. I didn't see anything. And this gives more value, too, because the next guy in line, I asked him, I said, what'd you see? He goes, well, I saw something like a ram's head, but it didn't have any eyes. So he said something different than the other ones, which will tell you even if they were trying to concoct a story, which they were not. Right. Because they didn't have time to concoct a story, because I was with them the whole time. It gives it more value because he said something slightly different. Right. So anyway, we finally get Brian where he's kind of awake. Now, this is more of the story. It's a little prequel. There is a gate that you have to go through about 150, 200 yards away. And when we got to the gate, Mandy, who is a psychic medium, and she's the head of Anubis Paranormal, she had on a cross that was blessed by the Vatican. At least that's what I had heard. So, but it actually pulled on her neck and gave her a friction burn as she tried to go through the gate.
Wow. So
they tell us, they said, by the way, if the spirits don't want you to leave, they will keep you here. Right? So she starts to go, and she goes, and I was like, wow, something just yanked on your chain. That's a pretty good idea. There's something there. So she says, something doesn't want to let me go. And I said, well, you're just going to have to push through it. So she does. Well, the girl who was the soldier goes up. She goes, I feel the same thing. I said, do it. She gets through. Well, I walked right through. Evidently wanted me to get the hell out of there. But that was earlier. Now, when we've got Brian, Peter and I, because Peter's about my size, we get him under his arm and we're pulling him, and he's half dragging. He looks like he's a drunk. He's got his head down, and he's loose body. He's still walking a little bit, and we're just pulling him along. And I'm really interested to see what's going to happen when we get near this gate, because if there's anybody that it's attached to or trying to possess, it's him, right? We get about 10 feet from the gate. Now, remember, he can't see the gate, right? And we've been walking a couple hundred yards, 150, 200 yards. He's got his head down. We've got his arms, and he's going like this. We get about 10 feet away, and he goes, ah! And he just jerks back, right? And he starts pushing with his feet. So me and Peter got hold of him. I looked, I said, Peter, pick him up. So we picked him up and ran him through the gate, right? And we opened up the back of the SUV and tossed him in, and they took off with him to give him some stuff warm and get him up. But the fact that he reacted that way without seeing the gate was that got my interest. I got to tell you, the two other girls who I trust implicitly, all of them I trusted, had that reaction, and then he really reacted when he was getting there. And I was kind of figuring that was going to happen if the stories were true, and it did in spades, as they would say.
Wow.
And it's interesting that you say, because it's like, in a crime scene, when a crime happens and you interview people, and there's the same story, but there's some slight variations to it. Yeah. So you're right, the fact that one story was slightly different, it does give validation to it. That they didn't all get together and say, we're going to say this and we're going to say that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Enough alike, but not a cookie cutter version of the same thing. I have an important question. Is that in the book?
It is in the book.
Awesome. That's a great point, though, Lourdes, because if they matched identical and were a cookie cutter, that would actually taint it a little bit. Where you're like, okay, how could they all have that exact cookie cutter version? So your point is very well taken and leads credence to the stories because there was variation in it. So excellent point.
Well, yeah, it's the evidence that you're looking for. I mean, you ask multiple people, you got a slight variation, but a similar description. In law enforcement, you'll see a police officer. If any of you have ever talked to a police officer, he'll ask you the same question 3 times. And the reason he asks you the same question 3 times is to see if any of those stories differ. Where Rick went from person to person to person to see if the stories differ, and they differed slightly, but the description still was very similar. And coming from law enforcement, that's how you validate the evidence that people are saying is you ask multiple people multiple questions about the same thing, and you see if anybody changes. And you went through that whole thing with them, Rick, and yeah, the one guy's description was different, but it's the telephone game. Everybody sees things differently, but if the description remains the same, then you can validate that it's a true statement.
That was one of the reasons that I gave the story more value, because he was slightly different, but the dark eyes remained the same, which would have been the key element. Now, a lot of people don't know about me. I have a degree in criminal justice, and I also did an internship as a detective in Maywood, Illinois. So I do have some experience, in talking to people and things like that. But the thing that was the most, I asked Brian after we finally got him awake and stuff. I said, "What happened?" He goes, "I have no idea."
Really? That's what happened.
Wow. He said I was there, and the people said they turned around and they saw him. He looked like he was on roller skates going back, and he just went, "Boof." Down he went.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. But there was more stories there. There was Carol Ann. It's really dark, and there's lots of big dark shadows you see there. I mean, shadow people. And I was off one side, outside the chapel and out on the grounds, and I had my K2 and my voice recorder, and I see her coming through the chapel, and she's 50 to 75 yards away, and I see her coming, and she's walking, and she's talking, and she's walking and talking, and then she looks up, and she sees me, and she's like totally startled, right? So she comes scooting up to me. She goes, "How long have you been here?" I said, "I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. She goes, "I thought I was walking behind you. I saw a big black shape," because I'm always dressed in black. She goes, "So I followed you." She goes, "I was talking to you." And I said,
"Wow."
So, and Mandy, the girl who's a psychic, actually saw another black shape coming from the water, the creek that runs down there. But if you guys ever go ghost hunting in England, get someone to take you to Bolton Abbey.
Bolton Abbey.
Unbelievably haunted.
Remember that.
Oh, we'll ask Rick.
We'll ask Rick.
Have Rick take us over there.
Of course, you can always just remember me and just say, "Where is that place? We're going to England." That'd be right easy.
There you go.
Hey, Rick, Dylan wants to say hi.
Who does?
Dylan.
Oh, is that my friend Dylan?
Yes.
Dylan?
Yes. He's thrilled with the birthday present you got him, and he just wrote in the comments. He said, "Dad, I can't wait for you to finish the book." He goes, "I'm buying my own, which is yours." So very cool. But this has been absolutely fantastic, Rick. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing these stories. Anything you want to plug about your book or anything else you've got going on? Now's your chance. Let me highlight you and go ahead and say whatever you want to say.
Yes, girls, I'm single. I like walks on the beach. I like slow wet kisses that last for days. The book is called Ghosts Believe in Me. It's on Amazon, and it's my name, Rick McCallum, as the author. I've been the feedback I've been getting on the book has been very, very good. I mean, very good. So I'm happy to say I'm happy with the way it came out, and I tell you, there's some stories in there that you haven't heard before. Let's put it that way. Even in all the ghost hunting you've done, you haven't heard some of the stuff that's happened.
Huh?
Wow. Yeah, like I said, we got a copy of it. Can't wait to read it. Showed up, what, 2 days ago? 3 days ago?
Yeah, 2 days ago.
So we're definitely looking forward.
So is there going to be a second book, part 2?
I really think there is, because I didn't even come close to a lot of the stuff that I've done, but I just wanted to highlight it and get it out there just, so people can see it, because actually the driving factor was what happened at Lepp Castle.
Oh, okay.
And like I say, when you read it, you'll just go, holy shit, you got to be kidding me.
I can't wait.
Well, I'll just give you a little hint. The guys from Scottish Paranormal, who are arguably as good a ghost hunting group as there is in the world, and I'm really lucky to be a member. They made me a lifetime honorary member. So they have bad taste, but they are good ghost hunters. But one of the guys actually ran inside because I was in the car, and he told the Lord of the Castle, he says, can you get an ambulance standing by because we think Rick might die?
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Now,
yeah, that's some scary stuff, no doubt about it. I mean, I've heard you speak, Rick, multiple times on different shows and all sorts of other things. And for you to say that with as much seriousness as you just said that gives me a very good indication of how serious this was.
Yeah.
Well, if I tell you that I was undoubtedly, and I knew it deep down in my heart and soul and everything else, that I had maybe 2 minutes left to live.
Wow.
Wow.
Jeez.
Well, luckily for all of us, you're still here.
You're here, yeah.
Stories on. And
well, I think the devil and God were both going, I don't want him. I don't either.
Heaven
don't
down
there, let him marinate a little bit.
Too funny. Too funny.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you, Rick, for taking time out of your schedule to be able to talk with us. This was a great show. We thoroughly enjoyed it. And it was a pleasure to have you on and be able to talk about these great experiences that you had. And we'll look forward to, I'm sure you'll be starting book number 2 shortly after this one releases for a while, because I know you, and I know that you've got some amazing stories and another book's on its way. I know that without a doubt.
Well, now that I'm going back to England and Scotland and Ireland again this coming year, hopefully. And, there'll be more stuff, and there's always stuff around here that I get. So I'm looking forward to it. Now, if I come down to Aho next week, are you guys going to be around?
We will make sure we're around so that can happen. Absolutely.
Well, I'm talking about the whole group here.
The whole group, unfortunately. Everybody's in different parts of the country now. Yeah. So as far as Arizona, Sheree and I are the only one left, but we will make sure that if you're in town and going to Tombstone, we will find time that you can come and investigate the hospital. Because I tell you, if you've never stepped foot in it before, it is an experience.
Very much.
I have to tell you, the fact that you guys are all different places, that witness protection can really hurt. It really can. It can bust them up faster than anything else.
The worst part is they moved us 2,200 miles and they kept us our name and still kept the show. And it's like, they still know where we're at.
We got an arrow pointing on the map. Well, guys, thank you for having me. I hope you saw some interesting stuff that I brought. And,
we sure did.
Yeah.
Thank you all for
profound. Profound, educational for people watching who are new to this or hobbyists or a couple years under their belt. It's profound because they see TV shows with FLIR cameras. They see, ghost boxes. They see all these equipment being used, and you don't really get the full scope of what it does, how it's used, what not to do from what's encapsulated in the show. You did more with just some of the pieces of evidence on this show. Yeah. A lot of series will do in an entire season.
Right.
Show the process and what's involved and how much is built into it.
the importance of documentation and its stages, the stages, you know?
Lourdes just got the perfect answer, the stages. If you don't tell the story properly, it gets convoluted.
Right.
So if I show you this and then the middle and then the end, you can follow it. So she's absolutely right. I know you guys got to go. Thank you for having me. And
all right, Rick, thank you so much. Chris, you want to give our closing line?
Ladies, don't forget that Rick is single, likes walks on the beach, and remember, everybody stay haunted.
Bye.
All right, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thank you again. Have
nice
a
meeting
wonderful
you guys.
evening.
Bye.
Thank you.
Pleasure.